Today, we're going to be talking about how to move from fight or flight into a state of flow. These are simple ways to regulate your body and mind before stepping into tough conversations. We're going to cover some simple ways of doing this, and let's take a look first at some of the realities behind conflict. Okay, conflict is everywhere. To start, let's take a look at a few real life situations. These are from educators who took our Mind Shifting 3 course recently. Uh, One is the shared space clash. Okay, Jackie was dealing with a colleague using a shared classroom space right up until the event started. And so tensions and defensiveness was high because Jackie needed the space. The colleague was still using the space. Her event was about to start. She had had no time to set up. And so you can imagine the potential conflict there. And then a second case, undermining. There's an undermining co-chair. Christina was dealing with her department co-chair, and they would agree on a direction in private, but then the co-chair would back out and change her mind completely in front of the rest of the staff. And you can imagine how that made Christina feel. And you can imagine if Christina had said anything at the time, or anything that she could come up with, at the spur of the moment, how that would have really fueled a conflict. And then something that a lot of educators face, the hostile parent, right? Morgan received an unjustly critical response from a parent during a virtual meeting regarding the child's evaluation results. And so, what's our natural tendency there is to strike back, say, no, 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 I'm doing this. This is a standard procedure. This is what we know that works. Stop trying to meddle. Things like that, which would have just fueled the conflict further. So, the question is like, why do things spin out of control? And the reason why these conversations get so heated so fast, to a large extent, comes down to our mirror neurons. We've talked about mirror neurons in other Mind Shifting Mondays with Mitch, but our brains are subconsciously wired or biologically wired to pick up and mimic the emotions of others. And so when we're talking with somebody, our brains are constantly at work. What is this person feeling? What is this person saying? Is this person angry? Is this person upset? Is this person happy? Is this person secure? And then as they're picking up that, their mirror neurons are also pushing on us to do the same thing, and that's why they're called mirror neurons. So when someone approaches you and they're angry, or they're frightened, or they're frustrated, your mirror neurons are going to detect a threat. This triggers your survival brain or limbic system to release cortisol and adrenaline. You immediately lose access to your critical thinking and empathy because that's what cortisol and adrenaline do. They focus us on the danger and the thing that we have to fix or cure or fight against. So then we revert back to default reactions. Because we feel threatened, we default to a negative mindset. We snap back, we argue, we shut down. And then the other person's mirror neurons pick up on our defensiveness, and that makes them even angrier because they were just reacting, as far as they were concerned, to a situation, and now you are unjustly getting angry at them back, and so their mirror neurons pick that up, and it kind of escalates the situation in their own brain. you know and often, we don't even mean to provoke the other person. Our limbic brains are primed to look for threats, meaning that innocent criticism or perfectly good suggestions are often seen as attacks because the brain reads it as a threat to autonomy. We offer an innocent suggestion, and we've all done this, right? We offer an innocent suggestion, and then we're met with a hostile reply. Like, why don't you clean your dishes? Like, and the person that we say that to, very often is going to feel like, oh, this person is judging me. um why don't you spend more time with me? That you're criticizing me because you don't like what my choices are. So, their mirror not neuron their brains pick up a threat. We through our mirror neurons, register that they're angry, and then we respond in kind. They detect us, they respond and escalate a little bit more. We detect a greater degree of anger, and so that traps us in this cycle. And this previous point, I've been saying this as if like we are offering suggestions to another person, and uh, they're falsely reacting. But when we get criticized, we react the same way. Okay, just imagine that I'm cleaning up the kitchen after dinner, and my wife comes in and says, "You didn't clean the frying pan. Why do you always forget something?" So my limbic brain instantly perceives that as criticism, as an attack. I don't stop and think logically. I feel threatened and defensive, and I fight back, saying something that I probably don't mean, unless I have the ability beforehand or in the moment to say, "Well, wait a minute, that's just a limbic reaction. I don't have to react that way." So we break that cycle through non-complementary responses. And again, non-complementary. I think we've covered this a few times before, but it's complementary, COMPLEM, complementary instead of CUMPLIM. Non-complementary responses is a response that is somewhat different. So one big secret to stopping the cycle is using a non-complementary response. This means that when someone attacks you with anger or anxiety, you don't match their energy. You may see what they're doing. Your mirror neurons uh, may prompt you to respond in kind, but you realize, well, wait a minute, I don't have to, and instead you intentionally respond with, I don't know, overwhelming empathy, or with curiosity, or with calm. By staying in your resourceful sage brain, your calm demeanor gives their mirror neurons a new safe signal to mimic. You know, in the book, Mind Shifting, Conflict and Collaboration, there's an example of an angry parent who says, "I can't believe you sent my child to the principal's office. What kind of teacher are you?" Now, a complementary response would be to get defensive and argue the rules. A non complementary response would be, "I hear that you're upset, and it sounds to me like you're really concerned about your child. I'd be concerned if I was a parent and I'm a teacher and I'm concerned about your child. Can you help me understand more about how you feel?" And you can see that that's not exactly the expected response. That's much more of a disarming response. It encourages the other person, seeing you concerned and seeing your empathy, to respond with empathy and concern as well. Or another example, um, this comes from reflections from one of the educators who've taken a course with us. Her name was Erin. She got an email from a parent about their child's evaluation that was highly accusatory, and her immediate instinct, just like the rest of us, was to get defensive and justify her position. Instead, she used a non-complimentary response. She paused. She did some deep breathing. She realized the parent was just concerned. And what she wrote back was a calm, understanding email, complimenting, with an I, complimenting the parent, establishing a connection about how they both were concerned, and asking how they could work together. And in fact, the parent's next email was gracious and receptive. And that's basically one of the keys to the conflict and collaboration book and the conflict and collaboration courses, is first understanding that your natural inclination is to strike back, and then to pause, and third is to come back and say, if I was really curious, if I really wanted to explore, if I wanted to connect with this other person, what would I do, and how might that lead to a better response? So, we felt that, to help you do this, we provide some free resources, and the QR code up on the top of the screen where it says, Mind Shifting with Mitch resources, takes you to a page with probably 40 or 50 downloads to help you walk through different situations. And again, all of these are free. Uh, one of which, and I'll go through three of them here, one of which is called your personal strengths inventory. So, research shows that positive self talk activates your resourceful brain. So in section one, when you're already calm, not in the moment, but now, while something isn't occurring, okay, you start and you identify your top strengths. Maybe curiosity is one of your strengths, maybe bravery, maybe kindness, but you identify your top strengths. Then in section two, you write an explicit statement about the strengths. I have curiosity and persistence. I can handle these types of conversations with respect. And then in section three, it has you reflect. It has you after a conversation or after simulating some conversation, you reflect by asking yourself, in that conversation, what worked well? What strengths did I use effectively? What might I do differently next time? And what can I learn about myself? And so that three-step process is identifying your top strengths beforehand, come up with an explicit statement, using that in an interaction with somebody where you might normally get triggered, and then after the conversation, reflecting what worked well, what strengths did I use effectively, what would I do differently next time, and what did I learn about myself. So that's the first tool for download. But it's the personal strengths inventory. Second tool is one we call strengths based feedback, and it uses a method called the CASES method, which actually comes from Finland. This prevents defensive reactions when you have to give criticism. And so, cases, each letter stands for something. C is the context. And so you think about the situation and how would you describe that situation objectively without blame? Like, for example, I noticed the project deadline was moved back by 2 weeks, or I noticed that this report was submitted 2 days after the deadline, or something. But something that doesn't, some way of phrasing what happened without blame, and then state some specific behavior that you observe. So that's A, action. Okay, I like the way you reached out to get clarity, or I like the way you completed this. Um, and then S, strength. Name some strength that the other person demonstrated. By doing that, that took real courage, or that took initiative, or that showed that you really care about this type of situation. And then E, which is effect, is you want to state the impact, um, and what you would like to do next. Is like, so next time there's a project, you think that you could reach out, um, you know, uh, a day or two ahead of time. And then kind of really the last one is to just make sure that both of you um, are on the same page, uh, which is something that asks for some type of an agreement. Like, does that seem like a reasonable next step, or what would you suggest? So that's the cases, which is also available from that Mind Shifting with Mr. Resources page. And then tool three that I wanted to just go through is Workplace Conflicts Curiosity Toolkit. Now, this download gives you the tools to stop convincing and start getting curious. So when you're encountering some workplace conflict, very often, you're looking to criticize, you're looking to, if it's you that did something wrong, maybe you're looking to give excuses, you're looking to defend yourself. Um, and this really has three different parts. In section one, it encourages you to stop trying to convince. It reminds you that someone disagrees with you they can't hear your logic if they're feeling judged. So it has you to stop trying to convince them and start trying to connect with them first. Section two, um, has you go through what needs are being unmet, both the needs that you have and their needs, because chances are, if they're doing something, and it's having a negative effect, they have unmet needs as well. So section two is teaching you that conflicts are really about the unmet needs that need to be heard, respected, and valued. And then section three has you pick a challenge and simulate it and try it out before you actually go through and face one at work. So you pick one difficult conversation, select 3 to 5 curious questions from the toolkit, and commit to trying it out and listening more than you talk. So these are tools that are all within both the book, mind shifting conflict and collaboration, and also they're taught in the course, mind shifting conflict and collaboration. So let's take a look at some of participants from the course. How do they use things like this to resolve conflicts and regulate themselves in situations that could easily have blown up? So let's look at Emma, who has a resistant colleague. So she deals with people all the time who are highly resistant to new instructional strategy. And I realize that never happens in schools today because everybody is looking to change, right? And there's nobody who's resistant to new policies, new instructional strategies, right? But Emma found the one person in the country who actually did resist a new instructional strategy, and the inflammatory trigger, which could have triggered Emma, was this person was defensive and dismissive, saying things like, "That would never work with our students," or "We don't have enough time to do stuff like that," or "This is just the latest thing, but none of these things ever work." Okay, so those are the triggers, and normally, that would trigger a defensiveness in Emma as well, and it would escalate. But this, having being taken the course, Emma realized that that wasn't going to get her where she wanted to go. So instead of arguing the facts, she decided to use empathy to validate her autonomy, the autonomy of the other person. So something on the lines of, it sounds like this feels really overwhelming. You know your classroom best. I'm not here to force anything. What feels most challenging about this right now? So by giving a non-complimentary response instead of responding in anger, but by responding with empathy, that broke down the defenses of the other person because, like, oh, this person is listening to me, they want to work with me, and it changed the whole structure and direction of the interaction. Or another person who attended a course, she and her husband had to confront a hockey coach who was unfairly benching their son. So the trigger was, the coach, as soon as they were walking towards the coach became highly defensive. He was feeling attacked, and he accused parents of trying to tell him how to run the team. So instead of matching that aggression, she and her husband redirected the conversation with curiosity. And what they asked is, how can we better help our son? And by asking for his advice instead of criticizing him, the coach dropped his defensiveness and he started offering them things that they could do. And as a matter of fact, what came out of that is that the coach started offering free clinics to people who weren't getting enough playing time, and the whole level of the team improved. And their son did get more playing time. And then a third, these types of conflicts happen a lot in families also. So uh, there's one woman whose grandfather's wife, her grandfather was in the hospital, and the grandfather's wife said, you have to come out here and you have to help him to this woman's husband and this woman's husband's brother. But at the same time said, and I only have a single bed, so the two of you are going to have to sleep on a single bed. Well, how many grown men, even when it's their brother, want to sleep on a single bed with with another person? So, you know, this the grandfather's wife aggressively insisted that Laura's adult father and the uncle had to share a single bed at her house. So instead of snapping back, the uncle used a calm and structured nonviolent communication like response, um, and non-complimentary behavior. And what he said is like, I feel grateful for your willingness to host us in this unforeseen situation. And I also feel uncomfortable sharing a bed with my brother. Would you be open to allowing me to use your couch? And so again, by opening up, like I'm feeling grateful for your willingness to host us. The defensiveness dropped, and the grandfather's wife dropped the argument instantly, and that was the solution. So, all three of these instruments that we talked today, the workplace conflicts toolkit, the strengths based feedback guide, and your personal strengths inventory, these were all used in those types of examples. They're completely free for you. You can go directly to the QR code on your screen, but basically, if you go to the mindshiftingwithmitch.org website, you'll see on the top right that there's a link called resources. And if you click on that link, you'll see all the different resources. Or if you're interested in a particular type of resource, that resources link also has a drop down and lists four different types of resources. That you can go to those pages and download those resources directly. I'd like to, I'd like you to come next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about apologizing without losing power. So many of us, we do something, maybe we realize we were wrong, and we also think, geez, by apologizing, I'm losing power. Or so many people apologize automatically, even when they had nothing to do with something. And by issuing the apology, they're also really giving up a certain degree of equality with the other person, by virtue of doing the apology. So we're going to explore how the apology is actually a very potent tool when used correctly. So, thank you for joining me for this Mind Shifting Monday with Mitch. Encourage you, try these tools. They're free. Download them, try them out this week. I'd be really happy if you contacted me and let me know. Well, I'd be really, really happy if you contacted me to let me know that they gave you positive outcomes. But I'd be moderately happy if you contacted me and said, something, I use these, but I still have a question, or I don't think that I think you need me to change the tool to something. But I'd love to hear from you. And I'm signing off for the week. And maybe I'll see you next Monday for Mind Shifting Monday with Mitch. Take care.